Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. We're going to talk about AEW Dynamite from February the 28th, 2023. Boy, what a drab show this was. I mean, my goodness. It was like we was at a funeral. And I don't even know who died. And maybe it's us. Maybe what died is our love of wrestling. Oh, my... oh, boy. This wasn't even a terrible episode of Dynamite. It was just painfully dry. And it felt like nothing was really going on. And they were just going through the motions to get to this pay-per-view. I don't know. Maybe they're in a holding pattern of some kind. I mean, they just hired a new creative person. So maybe that's what's going on. Is they're struggling to let her get her feet onto the product and everything. And it'll be a while before things pick up. Maybe they're trying to save everything for that big business show. Who knows? But these shows are absolutely terrible. And they're boring. They're worth more than anything. Bad wrestling can be fun. TNA sometimes was bad wrestling and it's fun. WWE sometimes, when it was at its wackiest and silliest and dumbest, can still be fun. But this is neither fun nor silly bad, or you can sit back and laugh at it. It's just kind of like, I can't believe I'm watching this. But let's do news and notes, then let's talk about this show, because I don't want to keep you here all night long. So you probably heard by now, CMLL, the new partner of AEW. For starters, they seem to have pushed all the AAA guys off the show. CMLL and AAA, they don't work well together. So you haven't seen a lot of the AAA guys because the CMLL guys are there. And now, apparently there will not be as many CMLL guys hanging around because they have a massive visa issue. Now, this is only worth discussing because it came almost out of nowhere. And it seemingly affected about 20 guys. And it seems to have actually been, I don't want to call it fraud, but it's an interesting loophole. So the way that this thing works, according to Lucha Blog, who broke it all down for me, I'm not going to read his entire piece on it, but there's about 20 CMLL workers who have been pulled from the United States. And the reason being, they've been pulled for the next 6 to 12 months, apparently. Because what happened is CMLL has been doing some kind of partnership with a Texas promotion called Full Blown Pro. So Full Blown Pro would request certain numbers of wrestlers from CMLL and get them a visa. And during that time that they have a visa, they can work in other places. So that's how they've been working in AEW. So they, Full Blown Pro Wrestling will get them a visa. And then while they have like a certain window amount of time they can work in the United States, they've been doing AEW. So apparently there was some kind of random check by the Department of Homeland Security who saw a specific wrestler. They called CMLL, and the official that they spoke to apparently didn't know that a specific wrestler was on the list. Said that wrestler should not have been on the list. This means that they flagged all of these wrestlers, and then they pulled all of them. And so now these guys have to start pretty much all over again or risk a 5-year ban and not being able to work in the United States. Most of these guys, I'm not sure if they've even appeared in AEW. I know Heshachero has. I know Volador Jr. has. The rest of them, I'm not sure. I'm not going to go through the list, but it's interesting how the government can get involved. There's a lot of Mexican wrestling politics behind this too. A lot of fans think this has something to do with Conan, and how would Conan know to get them in trouble with visa issues? And visa issues has been a problem repeatedly when it comes to Mexican wrestlers. I mean, Dragon Lee just had visa issues. Bandito just had visa issues. I mean, it's part of guys who work out or live outside of the United States, who work in the United States. It's just part of the job. But it doesn't seem to have really affected business too much. I don't see anybody here that they were using in a major way outside of the Heshachero guy. but it seems like his angle with the Blackpool Combat Club is over anyway. So, I mean, that was interesting. So, get your visas right, folks. Get your paperwork together. I mean, we're deporting the guys who actually come here to work, but everybody who's coming here to live, free of charge, we're just letting them stay. And isn't that crazy? I don't want to get into too much into modern day politics, but how weird is that? These guys literally don't want to stay here. They just want to be able to do some shots in the United States and then go back home. Oh yeah, we're going to do everything we can to kick you guys out. But people who are just like calmly walking across the border, carrying their children and all their luggage and all their worldly belongings. Oh yeah, we're going to put you up in a hotel somewhere. Like, what kind of shit is this? What kind of place or what kind of dog and pony show are we running here? I just can't believe these guys are facing a 5-year ban because they want to, work once a week in the United States rather than sit around and collect tons of taxpayer money. Come on, don't you have bigger issues than these guys? You certainly have something better to do than to bother these guys who just want to come here. And I guess one thing, if they're trying to, pitch a tent and stay, then I might be like, all right, hold up. But these guys aren't. They're just doing their thing and leaving, man. Come on. All right, let's get into this show now. Hangman Page comes out on crutches. I immediately rolled my eyes because we've already been through this. We went through this last week on the internet. So what are they doing here? Well, the long and the short of it is Hangman Page pretends that he can't wrestle. So Swerve Strickland is extremely excited about this. Says that you can't stop Destiny. He's going to be the world champion. Samoa Joe says that these two guys have been going at each other for the past several months, purposefully avoiding eye contact with the great Samoa Joe. And he said that y'all are hungry, accomplished wrestlers because I've been starving y'all asses. Swerve tells everybody about his story, how he went from a cruiserweight to wrestling for the world championship, from unemployed to the main event of pay-per-views. And he's now going to take the next step. He's going to be the world heavyweight champion. And he's going to do whatever it takes to be the world heavyweight champion. And while his back is turned, Hangman Page hit him with crutches and stomped him and all this kind of stuff while screaming that Swerve Strickland will never be world champion. He's going to be world champion. Look, last week, this is all one big blunder by Dave Meltzer. You guys know this already, I'm sure. Dave Meltzer went on his podcast and said that Hangman Page likely had a broken ankle from the 6-man tag that had took place. That upset some people. People were very disturbed. They were like, oh no, how could it be? You mean his mustache didn't protect him? And then out of nowhere, AEW officials came out and said, oh, he's just very good at his job. There's nothing wrong with Hangman Page. So when he comes out here with the crutches this week, everybody's looking like, what is he doing? Like, it doesn't work because you've already said it's a work. This doesn't make sense. We already know it's bullshit, right? So how does this work? This was dumb. This was a waste of 10 minutes. They spent 10 minutes on this just for us to end up right back where we started as a triple threat match. That makes no sense. Why would you do that? You could literally have done anything else on this show. All right, the Young Bucks, they come in, they're clocking in after 8:10, by the way. So they're late to their own show. They're talking about their meeting with Ric Flair going great, but they want to go find Sting and conduct his, quote, exit interview. So they spent the rest of the night walking around looking for Sting. They accosted Eddie Kingston, said that they should implement a dress code because he needs to shore up his presentation, which I actually agreed with. You can't have this guy walking around with all these championships like he's some kind of big shot, and yet he looked like he's sleeping in a soup kitchen. There's just no way. You should have this guy as a champion running around in your company. I mean, he's all hairy and gray and all this kind of stuff. It's just not appropriate. It's not appropriate. Anyway, not appropriate attire, by the way. Anyway, later on, they show up at the end of the show. after the main event, still looking for Sting. Instead, they find Darby Allin. They fight Darby Allin, beat him up. Ric Flair comes down the ramp. You're supposed to believe that Flair is going to side with the Young Bucks, and yet he tries to fight the Young Bucks. He gets jumped and beat up too. Sting's music starts to play. The crowd goes, very excited. All night they've been saying it's the Sting's final Dynamite. The last time Sting's going to be on Dynamite. Whole 9 yards. Sting doesn't come down the ramp. He doesn't come through the crowd. Instead, he comes from the rafters. They did a rappel job for his last television performance. And I think that's quite fitting. Quite fitting. I like this. Of course, they beat up the Young Bucks and make them flee. That's fine. All right, did I talk about them going into that room, that creepy room with all the bats on it? Okay, so what happened before they got beat up in the ring? The Young Bucks were walking around looking for Sting. They go into the back. They find a dressing room conspicuously with Sting's name on it. They just walk in because they can, and they're not at all stricken with PTSD from walking into a guy's locker room and trying to fight him. And then there's bats hanging from the wall. They're hanging from the ceiling. Like mini bats. Not mini bats as in little bats, but mini bats as in a lot of bats. And they're just hanging from the wall, hanging from the ceiling, I should say, on strings, dangling about. And it's supposed to be creepy and weird and all this. I didn't get that vibe. I just thought that it's pretty weird for Sting to have a bat fetish. And he has a room of bats with all types of bats. Like, I don't know, man. This whole thing has been very strange. For this to be Sting's final television appearance, I would say it was not very effective. He didn't really get to say goodbye to the audience or anything like that, which is what you would expect for somebody's final appearance on television. I guess they were going for heat and not for emotion, but I think you could have accomplished both, if we're being honest. Maybe you could have set I don't know, because at the same time, you want to get Sting rappelling from the rafters, which I guess is a great final moment for Sting, and something actually very cool. But maybe they'll do the whole goodbye thing after the show. I don't know. But of course, that made the Flair segment last week null and void because Flair is not working with the Young Bucks. It would have been more fitting for Flair to turn on Sting because that's what Flair does. Flair betrays Sting literally all the time. But they didn't decide to go that route this time. We just need to get out of here. We just need to get the Young Bucks and Sting and all that stuff over with, okay? We got there, y'all. We're right there at the finish line. Let's just get 10 toes on the other side, and we ain't got to talk about this no more. All right, the Blackpool Combat Club defeat FTR and Eddie Kingston in a match that seemed to go on forever. And I would be a liar if I say I watched more than 5 minutes of this match total. I've seen every combination of these guys wrestling each other recently. I don't really care about Danielson and Kingston. They have made me not care about Danielson. That's how poorly he's been booked. And he's on a guy who's also on his way out. And he is being extremely poorly booked. Moxley is boring. He has added nothing to his character in forever. And Claudio is the same guy he was in WWE. He's old faithful. You're going to have a good match with him. Nothing spectacular is going to happen, but there's not going to be any disasters or tragedies either. So he's dependable. And sometimes when you're dependable, you're expendable. FTR, same thing. These guys have good matches all the time. Cash Wheeler out there working like, rent due because he's trying to beat that case in the ring. But ultimately, Danielson wins, choking Kingston out. This is supposed to add heat to their championship match. I don't care about this. What they should have done is replayed Danielson's promo where he says he doesn't respect Eddie Kingston and that, Eddie Kingston's waste of potential is pissing him off and all that kind of stuff. I think that was on Collision, if I remember correctly. And I thought that was a good encapsulation of the feud. That Danielson is disgusted at Kingston's lack of dedication to his craft and determination and all this kind of stuff. And him not, adding direct critiques to Eddie Kingston. Maybe Danielson should have stood there and called him fat and talked about him a little bit and say, like, this is what you've done with your life and this is what you've done with your career. That would have been nice. But nope, I didn't do that. And also FTR and Claudio and Moxley are going to wrestle each other again on Sunday. So excuse me for not giving this my full undivided attention. These guys are just going to wrestle again. They actually showed highlights from Chris Jericho's time in CMLL. This is all we asked for. They showed young Chris Jericho in there with Atlantis. And then Jericho cut the promo talking about how he came to Mexico to wanted to be a pro wrestler, and they wanted him to be a star, so they put him in there with legends, and one of them was Atlantis. And Atlantis was a mentor, a friend. And now he's heard about this CMLL AEW partnership, and he wanted to return the favor to work with Atlantis Jr. and teach that young man a lesson too. So Jericho and Lionheart Corazon de Leon versus Atlantis Jr. was actually the in-ring main event, which probably should not have been the in-ring main event. Look, this match was... I've seen people say it was garbage. I've seen people say that it was trash. I'm not going to brutally destroy the match that badly. I don't think it was garbage or trash or anything like that. It's just that we have, over the years, expected more from Chris Jericho. And Jericho is not capable of doing more. He is in his 50s. What I think he is doing what he can do. That there was one particular spot where the two of them jumped off the top rope, and it looked like Jericho was trying to spike Atlantis' body into the mat, and it looks like he just jammed his head into the ring. It looked like it hurt like hell, and I was surprised to see Atlantis up and rolling around shortly thereafter, but I was actually glad to see it because I thought maybe he had broke his goddamn neck. Anyway, the finish comes in with Jericho utilizing the walls of Jericho. Atlantis tries to get to the ropes. He gets pulled away. His dad is outside the ring, throws the towel in. Atlantis Jr. loses without tapping out. Jericho wins, and they confront each other a little bit. There's a little jaw-jacking back and forth before Atlantis Sr. and Jr. give Chris Jericho a hug, playing off their relationship. Okay. Again, the match wasn't great, but I don't know what we expected because Chris Jericho is so old. I just don't know what more you can expect from him. Tony Schiavone is in the ring with Will Ospreay, who sounds like Oscar the Grouch, and I don't understand nothing he's saying. We're here, bruv. We're gonna hear. Look at me green, bruv. Oh, bruv. I'm like, what the hell is this guy talking about? I've heard him talk a couple of times. I didn't expect his voice to be that deep or his accent to be that ridiculous. And now I didn't understand nothing he was saying. He was out there jaw-jacking for a little bit too. The long and the short of it is he's here now full time. And he beat Chris Jericho, he beat Kenny Omega, and he beat Orange Cassidy. And now he's trying to find out how to top this. So Don Callis comes out. Don Callis gives himself part of the credit for all of Will Ospreay's success. Then says that he's going to have a match of the year, match of the decade candidate with Takashi Takeshita. And he's been asked, why would you do this? And he says it's like when Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan would go one-on-one in practice and then go win championships. I'm like, I don't think that ever happened. I don't think that ever happened, but all right, tell your story. And so he tells them to shake hands. Now, reluctantly, they ultimately do shake hands, but they kind of get tense too. You know, they do the old, I'm going to hold you in place and try to intimidate you, tough guy stuff. All right. I thought they were going to do the turn tonight, but I guess they're going to wait and do the turn on Saturday. But clearly they're going in the babyface direction with Will Ospreay. All right, they had a Orange Cassidy Open Challenge for the international title, and the answer was Nick Wayne, of all people. So it's basically turned into NXT for like 5 or 10 minutes, except for Nick Wayne being a guy who has zero intrigue. Despite that he's hanging out with one of the coolest characters on the show, there is actually nothing cool about him. He's incredibly bland, and he wrestles literally like everybody else. Orange Cassidy won the match. Christian Cage was out there outside the ring. So was his mama. None of this matters. United Kingdom, I keep calling them United Kingdom. Undisputed Kingdom comes out there trying to distract. I don't know why they would try to help Nick Wayne win, considering Roderick Strong 2 months ago wanted to fight for the... They need to think things through. You know, like if you're going to... I don't understand why Roderick Strong decided to challenge somebody for 2 months later, but we're here now, and now they're still trying to help other people win, which is goofy and dumb. In any event, Orange Cassidy wins. Him and his boys, they fight off everybody else. This was a waste of everybody's time. Nick Wayne sucks. Well, matter of fact, let's back that up. That is genuinely unfair. I'm not going to say he sucks. He needs time to develop into his own style. He needs to stop watching tapes of Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay. He needs to start watching other people, right? Do other things. You know, try it sometimes. Watch tapes of literally anybody else, for God's sake. Bang Bang Scissor Gang exists. You can throw it in the bin. I don't care what's going on here. Throw it in the trash. I did see Max Caster's abortion of a rap on Saturday. I laughed my ass off because if you know anything about battle rap, the moment you choke, it's over with. And to Max Caster's credit, he didn't. After he choked, he didn't try to go back to it. He just gave it up. He threw in the towel, which is the right thing to do. As soon as you choke, it's over. Don't even try to keep going. But that's the only interesting thing about the Bang Bang Scissor Gang. This thing sucks. Jay White tour, Switchblade tour. How about that? Chris Statlander is defeated by Sky Blue. Interesting bit here. Chris Statlander ended up gorilla pressing Sky Blue and threw her into the crowd. That rules. That actually got me interested in this match. And then I realized that bald-headed, mid-dud ass, whopper head ass, Stokely Hathaway is outside the ring. He's painfully unfunny in person, but he's actually funny on Twitter. He's trying to get Statlander to cheat. She won't cheat. Willow doesn't want her to cheat either. But he's being a distraction, so she ends up losing because he distracted the ref, and Julia Hart ended up hitting Chris Statlander in the head with the belt. Look, poor Chris Statlander. This is a woman who has stature. She has size. She has ability. She can work on her charisma a little bit. But she's got a lot of the pieces that are necessary to be a strong contender in the women's division. And she's just constantly losing. Somebody needs to make it make sense to me. Also, where is Toni Storm and Deonna Purrazzo this week? Never mind. I'm asking too many questions. Because I was certainly about to start getting on this all-star scramble, but oh yeah, we do got to do the predictions, huh? Yeah, we'll do predictions. Sorry. We'll get to the predictions eventually. Anyway, Sky Blue wins. Is that the end of the show? Oh yes, that's the end. That's everything. I guess we can get to the predictions. We can get to the predictions now. So. Predictions for AEW Revolution. All right, so AEW Revolution will be March the 3rd, 2023, the final match of Sting's career. He will defend the tag team championships against Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, the Young Bucks. That is the main event for the evening. 9 matches booked on this show. It is likely going to be 7 hours. I can I can foresee that. But this review won't be 7 hours. Let's get right into this thing. The All-Star Scramble match. The winner of which will receive a future AEW World Heavyweight Championship match. I'm sorry, AEW World Championship. You can't use World Heavyweight Championship because 90% of this company is under 200 pounds. Now, this match is the replacement for the Meat Madness match, which was put on ice, quote unquote, by Tony Khan due to injuries and guys not being medically cleared by AEW Medical. And yet it features most of the same guys that they were booked for Meat Madness. That means Lance Archer, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Wardlow. There's only 3 guys that were announced for the Meat Madness match. And they're in this. So it doesn't matter. Look, let's go through the list of people that we know are in this match so far. Jericho, Wardlow, Hobbs, Lance Archer, Hook, Brian Cage, and then there's 2 empty spots. Now, I don't think it matters who's in those 2 empty spots because Wardlow has to win this match. I think we're all in agreement about that, correct? That Wardlow, after the promo that he cut the previous week, which they did not follow up on, by the by, but he's got to win this match, right? What if Wardlow does not win this match? Then what was the purpose of last week's promo, where he comes out talking about being the uncrowned king of AEW and all that jazz, right? So he's got to win. So Wardlow, that's what we're going with here. Match number 2. FTR versus Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli. This is a match for nothing. It's for pride. It's for, I don't know, pride and prejudice? I don't know. This thing can go either way because it doesn't matter. It's not like the losers have to break up or there's something on the line. There's just nothing here. And it doesn't matter whether FTR win or lose. So it's in a situation where I can toss a coin and will likely be right. You know, now a good competitive match is great, but there needs to be something behind it. And I don't feel like the story is really behind it. They've had a bunch of matches, but I don't think like the story has really set and there's no stakes. So I'm going to go with FTR winning because I believe the last time they had this match, I think it went to a draw. So I'm going to go with FTR winning because it seemed like that's the direction they were going in before. Moxley doesn't need to win this thing. Claudio doesn't need to win this thing. FTR really don't need to win either, but they're an actual tag team while Claudio and Moxley are just kind of like 2 tough guys who are working together on this. So I'm going to go with FTR. Match 3. Christian Cage defends the TNT Championship against Daniel Look at My Hips Garcia. Now, there are people who are calling for Daniel Garcia to win this match, and I do understand the sentiment. Daniel Garcia is one of those kids, man, that he is just always one step away. And I can understand that AEW fans are saying, okay, it's time to build a new guy. It's time to put a new guy in the spot. This is a perfect place to try to make Daniel Garcia. You could have Edge help him win or whatever the case may be, and that could work out just fine. The problem with AEW is that if they were to give the belt to Daniel Garcia, what would happen? I could tell you from the track record of AEW, he would defend it on Dynamite week, and then he would end up on Rampage because that's how AEW works. So Daniel Garcia can only go as far as Tony Khan will let him. So I personally am okay with Daniel Garcia winning the title here. I don't think Edge needs to win it. I don't think Edge should win it, if we're being honest. This is a mid-card belt. Neither Edge nor Christian really need it. So I'm going to go with Daniel Garcia. I think Edge is going to help him win the title. But I think Daniel Garcia is going to have a title run similar to Eddie Kingston's Continental Crown, where he's going to pop up every once in a while on Dynamite to defend against random Mexican, random Japanese guy, random undercard AEW guy. And he's just going to be basically a coat rack until somebody else comes along and takes the belt from him. Similar to Sammy Guevara. Similar to Ricky Starks when he won the FTW thing. I mean, there's just so many, examples of this. When Pac was the international champion, it was the same thing. It's, hey, this is a shiny new toy. We're going to have you defend this thing a lot. And then eventually it's going to hit a wall where, I'm tired of looking at you. Go work Rampage and go do some stuff, in New Zealand or whatever. So I personally would go with Daniel Garcia and reward all the guys' hard work. But you have to really put the gas behind him. Don't make Christian's job be in vain. Christian and Edge can continue to feud without the championship. All right. Konosuke Takeshita versus Will Ospreay. Again, another match that's just good match where it doesn't matter who wins or who loses. But it matters to Tony Khan because Will Ospreay is likely getting built up for the big match at Wembley Stadium. And more than likely, he's going to probably win the world championship at that show. So he's not going to lose to Konosuke Takeshita. So Will Ospreay is going to win. Singles match for the Continental Crown. If Danielson loses, he has to shake Eddie Kingston's hand. Eddie Kingston versus Bryan Danielson. Now, not much for Danielson, if we're being honest. Like, he just has to shake hands of a fat New Yorker. And disgusting as that is, it's not the worst possible thing that could happen to you. And there's been some whispering that Danielson wants to do a hair versus mask match in Mexico before he retires. And it would have been nice if they'd have did like a championship versus hair match for, the Continental Crown where, if Kingston wins, he shaves Danielson's head. But it seemed like they're, I guess, saving that for Danielson wanting to do it in Mexico. So that would have been a better angle, I think, because it'd have been Eddie Kingston humiliating Danielson by shaving his head. But whatever. I guess they're going to do it for Mexico. So, but Bryan Danielson, if he's not going to be world champion, I don't see him being a continental champion either. Like, I don't see the point of this. The Continental Crown. This belt is already super irrelevant. Eddie Kingston's going to win. He just did a job to Bryan Danielson too, so he's certainly not going to lose this match. So Eddie Kingston. AEW Women's World Championship Timeless Toni Storm versus Deonna Purrazzo. So Deonna Purrazzo and Toni Storm were both missing from Dynamite. They forgot these guys. They forgot these girls have a match on Sunday, and decided to keep them home. I guess they did all they could do with this angle anyway after Toni Storm went and got a new tattoo. Toni Storm's not losing the championship. Deonna Purrazzo is about to end up like Taya Valkyrie. Oh, kudos to Taya, by the way. She lost 35 pounds, and she looks great. She hasn't been on TV since she lost those 35 pounds, I don't think. But her absolutely pathetic performance. Oh, yeah, she has. She wrestled Deonna on TV. Yeah. But it was last year that she was out of shape and she looked like crap. And she was in there with, I think, Britt Baker. And it was absolutely awful. But now Taya has lost a lot of weight and she's still somewhat older. So it's not like she's going to be significantly better. But just a little kudos to Taya while I was thinking about it. Back on subject. Deonna Purrazzo is going to end up in the Taya Valkyrie position where she's going to lose this match. And then she's probably going to lose another match or two. And then she's going to be on Rampage and mid-level Collision, doing jobs, win some, lose some, win some, lose some. And that just seems to be her future because there's really no consistency in AEW. And then once Mercedes Moné, who may pop up at this show, which I'm actually going to expect that she will. I don't know when is the show that she's supposed to appear on next week's show or the week after. Whenever. If I were Tony, I would debut Mercedes at this show. And right after this championship match, I would have Mercedes show up. Go ahead and announce her for the Boston show. And then you got something, a buzz coming out of this show. Because I don't think a buzz is coming out of this show. And I think a Vince McMahonism would be, you're going to have the big downer with Sting's final match. Whether he wins or loses, it's his final match. You want to give people something to look forward to in the future. So what you want to do is you want to make sure everybody realizes that there's going to be a continuance of stars that's going to be on this show. You already brought Will Ospreay in. Go ahead and bring in Sasha Banks Moné, too. All right. So, Timeless Tony Storm is going to win. See you in the mid-card, Deonna Purrazzo. Match, what is this? 6. No, 7. No, 6, right. Orange Cassidy versus Roderick Strong for the AEW International Championship. This match is a bathroom break because Roderick has not been funny in ages, and he's not doing anything. This match was set 2 months ago, and Roderick basically disappeared immediately afterwards. His angle became less interesting. And he's been doing stuff here and there, but again, this match was set so long ago that there's no heat to it. There's no intrigue to it. And I don't even understand why Roderick Strong wants to be the international champion. You had all this time to make this belt feel special for Roderick wanting it for a specific reason or something. But no, it's just that everybody in the Undisputed Kingdom has to do their part, which is you have to pursue this championship. It's like, why can't he pursue some other championship? Why couldn't he pursue the Continental Crown or the TNT title or something? Why it had to be this belt? They didn't specify, so whatever. Orange Cassidy is probably going to lose this match because there's nothing else that he's doing with the belt other than just wrestling matches. Roderick Strong is going to do the exact same thing, if we're being honest, but at least it's on a different person. You might be able to build somebody up and to take it from him. So I'm going to go with Roderick Strong. Is going to end up winning the international belt. Orange Cassidy doesn't need it anymore. I loathe to say that maybe Orange Cassidy should move up the card, but I think they've burned him out in the mid card so much that maybe it don't matter to move him up to the main event anymore. You know, maybe some guys are at that level where you've seen them wrestle at this particular position. It's kind of like the Kofi Kingston and Dolph Ziggler situation, where you've been a mid-carder all this time. Hard to buy you as a main eventer, even though they have tried to slot Orange Cassidy in the main event against guys like Moxley. I wonder if they would be willing to do it against the world champion, but they've been hesitant to do so. I want to go with Roderick Strong winning the international belt. The World Championship 3-way match. Samoa Joe versus Hangman Adam Page versus Swerve Strickland. My choice is Samoa Joe. I think Joe having a strong championship run before losing it to Will Ospreay is probably the best option. Swerve, I know, is applying a lot of pressure. I'm just going to put it out there, a lot of racial pressure to Tony Khan to say, I'm the most over guy on the roster. I should be the champion. Which there is a good argument to be made there. But there's a better argument to be made that Samoa Joe is better and that he should be the champion. And that he is better at carrying the company right now. And he's the right guy. Hangman Page he hasn't even been in the conversation. All right. Until he can literally grow his own mustache that fits his face, he shouldn't be in conversation to be world champion. Right. He looks like he had a redwood pasted to his face. This guy sucks. He's not worthy of of the Tom Selleck, of the Magnum PI mustache. He's just not worthy of it. He needs to shave it and take his top knotted ass and get the hell on out of here. But alas, he never will. So the question is, will Swerve win the belt? I don't suggest it. I think you keep it on Joe. I don't remember. I think All In is in August. That's 5 more months of Samoa Joe. I don't see any reason to take the belt off of him. I mean, if you give it to Swerve, then Swerve carries it for 5 months and then drops it to Will Ospreay. Look, Will Ospreay is getting that belt at All In, right? I think we all know that. It's all about who's going to drop it to him. Maybe you have Joe win this match and then you have Swerve win it on TV. I don't know if there's another pay-per-view or something like that in between now and then. Maybe they use the Big Business show as a chance to swap the titles. I don't know. But I would suggest that Samoa Joe, if he does lose the belt, it'd be in a singles match and it wouldn't be in anything like this. So because it's a triple threat match, I'm going to go with Samoa Joe. I don't know where you fit Swerve's championship run in. And I think if you don't do it within the next few months, then you're going to miss out on maybe one of your top guys being the world champion. And that's going to cause a lot of racial animosity in the AEW locker room. Because then everybody's going to be like, what do I have to do? I got to work twice as hard. And, oh boy, nobody wanted to go through all that, right? But you don't want to give the dude the belt just because he's whining too. You don't want to do that either. I think Swerve's at the point where people would buy him as world champion. So I'm not saying that, the only way he would get it is because he's a belly aching about, being the black champion. I just think that it's coming with the territory at this point. That if you don't do it, there's going to be more of that. They ain't never going to make the brother the champion shit. And it's going to be very off-putting it could be actually demoralizing to Swerve too. So you have to make the decision to probably not beat Swerve in this situation, but beat Hangman and set it up where Swerve gets a championship match, a singles match, and then maybe he wins that. I think that might be your best option, but I don't think you beat Samoa Joe in a triple threat scenario. That's stupid. Main event of the evening, match 9, Sting and Darby Allin versus the Young Bucks. Win, lose, or draw, this is Sting's final match. I think Sting will win it. I don't see the Young Bucks beating Sting in his final match. I mean, if you want to get tons of heat on your company, maybe you have Sting lose to the Young Bucks. But I think it's the wrong kind of heat. I think it's going to be the kind of heat that they can't come back from. Where people are going to be like, ugh. They're going to regurgitate this. Because it seems, a lot of people are not really interested in the angle anyway. And to have the Young Bucks put themselves in this position, even if people say like, oh, it was Sting's choice, people don't really believe it was Sting's choice. But what you can do is try to make the most of it by the Young Bucks doing the job. And then have Sting retire the titles, and then you have a tournament or something like that. Or I hate to use the word tournament because tournaments are so played out. But that's the best option we got here, is to do something to build up to a new set of tag team champions. And that's what I would suggest. I would suggest Sting winning. But if Sting is about business and Sting does the job to the Young Bucks, oh boy. Whew, that's tough. That's tough right there. Because a lot of people are going to be disappointed and upset. Especially when you consider that Sting lost to Triple H at WrestleMania and people still haven't gotten over that. They're like, oh. And it's like, usually they're the put the young guys over. And Triple H was the young guy in that situation. But people feel like he should have won. And maybe if they'd have told the story that they were already telling about the Authority and all that, which is the right story that they should have told. I don't understand why they pivoted to being WWF versus WCW, which is stupid. But if they'd have kept the Authority angle, which they should have, then yes, Sting should have won. But it was WWF versus WCW, and yeah, he should have lost. A lot of guys are talking about whether they are going to attend Sting's last match or not. Lex Luger says he might be there. Kevin Nash says he's a WWF guy. He ain't going. He also said at one point that he asked WWF if he could go, and he said no. They said no, and he was worried about being shown on television and all this kind of stuff. But there's going to be guys there. You know, we know Flair is going to be there. I wouldn't doubt at all that Luger is going to be there. I would imagine and would hope that they would ask somebody like the Great Muta to be there. Or, you know, maybe some other guys that, you know, worked with Sting quite a bit in WCW. Maybe even some of the guys he worked with in TNA should show up. Maybe like Kurt Angle or, you know, Jeff Jarrett, who already works there. Jeff Jarrett does. And have them sit in the crowd. And, you know, that could be a really fun going away kind of thing. Mick Foley, you know, that kind of stuff could be fun. Maybe even Dixie Carter makes an appearance there. That could be fun, man. It could be a good time. I don't really care who wins or loses because I don't care about this match. I hate the Young Bucks. But I think Sting should win. He should go out on top. And they figure out what they're going to do with the tag team belt some other time. So I'll go with Sting and Darby Allin. So my picks are as follows. Sting and Darby Allin to retain the tag team championships. Roderick Strong to win the international championship. Samoa Joe to maintain the world heavyweight championship. Timeless Tony Storm to maintain being the women's championship. Eddie Kingston in the Continental Crown match. Will Ospreay over Konosuke Takeshita. Daniel Garcia over Christian Cage. FTR over the Blackpool Combat Club. And Wardlow wins the All-Star Scramble. Okay. Enjoy AEW Revolution if you watch it. And I'll talk to you guys later.